Imagine you are standing in the middle of a room, holding a glass of water. If you hold it for a minute, it's no problem. If you hold it for an hour, your arm begins to ache. If you hold it for an entire day, your arm will feel numb and paralyzed. The weight of the glass hasn't changed, but the longer you hold it, the heavier it feels. This is the precise mechanics of emotional attachment. Most of us are walking through our lives carrying not just one glass, but a dozen. Heavy, leaden containers filled with old resentments, past failures, and the shadows of people who are no longer in our lives. We tell ourselves that holding on is a way of staying safe, of learning from the past, or of seeking justice. But today is about the invisible tax. It is the moment we stop looking at the person who hurt us and start looking at the bill we are paying to keep their memory alive in our nervous system. This invisible tax is not a metaphor. It is a literal extraction of your life force. We often treat our inner world as if it has infinite resources, as if we can ruminate on a betrayal for 10 years without it affecting our ability to build a future. We view holding on as a passive state, a side effect of being human. But holding on is actually an active, high-energy consumption state. It is a biological, cognitive, and spiritual drain that is currently preventing you from becoming the person you were meant to be. The first place this debt is collected is within the physical architecture of your body. When you refuse to let go of a perceived slight, a trauma, or a deep-seated regret, your brain does not perceive it as a memory. It perceives it as a current, ongoing threat. Your amygdala doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and the mental image of your ex-boss belittling you 5 years ago. Consequently, your nervous system remains in a state of low-grade chronic arousal, the fight-or-flight response. When you are in this state, your body is a factory for cortisol and adrenaline. In short bursts, these chemicals are life-saving. In chronic doses, they are toxic. They degrade your bone density, suppress your immune system, and disrupt your digestive tract. Have you noticed a persistent tightness in your jaw? A dull ache in your lower back that no massage seems to reach? A shallow breath that never quite reaches your belly? This is not just getting older, this is armor. Your body is physically bracing itself against a past that you refuse to leave behind. You are literally aging faster because your cells are bathed in the chemistry of survival rather than the chemistry of growth. Beyond the internal chemistry, this physical bracing changes how you move through the world. A body that is holding on is a body that is rigid. This rigidity leads to chronic inflammation and a lack of vitality. You feel heavy, not because of your weight, but because your muscles are perpetually contracted, awaiting an attack that has already happened. By looking at this biological bill, we begin to see that the past isn't just back there. It is living in our tissues, demanding payment in the form of our health and longevity. As the body grows weary from the physical demand of holding on, the mind begins to suffer a parallel exhaustion. Imagine your consciousness is a high-performance computer. You have a finite amount of RAM, random access memory, available to navigate your day, solve problems, and experience joy. However, every unresolved emotion and every unlet-go grievance is like a high-demand application running in the background that you've forgotten to close. When you ruminate, you are using 40%, 60%, or even 80% of your cognitive bandwidth to maintain the grip on your story. You are constantly scanning for similar threats in the present, rehearsing old arguments in your head and building elaborate mental defenses against future pain. This is the root of the brain fog that plagues so many in the modern world. You aren't lacking intelligence, you are lacking bandwidth. You are trying to run a 2026 life on a system that is still dedicated to processing a crisis from 2015. This cognitive drain manifests as indecision and a lack of focus. Because so much of your mental energy is tied up in the past, you find yourself unable to be fully present in meetings, in creative endeavors, or even in a simple conversation. You are halfway there, with the other half of your mind stuck in a loop of, "Why did they do that?" or "How could I have been so stupid?" When you finally let go, you don't just feel lighter, you get smarter. The fog lifts because the background applications have finally been closed, freeing up your vast mental resources for the life happening right now. This mental distraction inevitably spills over into our connections with others, creating a relational cost that is perhaps the most tragic of all. Most of us believe our baggage is a private matter, but it is actually the most visible thing about us. It acts as a filter, a distorted lens through which we view every person we encounter. When you hold on to the pain of a past betrayal, you are never truly alone with your current partner or friends. There is a ghost in the room. You aren't responding to the person in front of you. You are responding to the person who hurt you a decade ago. This is called projection. If you haven't let go of the belief that people eventually leave, you will interpret a partner's need for space as an act of abandonment. You will create the very reality you fear because you are reacting to a memory rather than a reality. You punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty, and in doing so, you sabotage the intimacy you desperately crave. Furthermore, holding on makes you emotionally unavailable. Intimacy requires a soft heart, but a heart that is holding on must remain hard to maintain the grip. You are tiptoeing through your relationships, waiting for the other shoe to drop, which prevents you from experiencing the deep, nourishing connection that comes from total presence. The cost isn't just the pain you feel. It's the love you are unable to receive because your hands are too full of old wounds to reach out and grab the new. As these relational patterns repeat themselves, we eventually face the hardest part of the wake-up call, the realization that we have been living in a graveyard. Every minute you spend holding on to what was or what should have been is a minute you have stolen from what is. There is a profound opportunity cost to your suffering that cannot be recovered with money or status. If you spend 5 hours a week ruminating on a past failure or a lost dream, that is 260 hours a year. Over a decade, that is 2,600 hours, over 100 full days of your life, spent living in a mental simulation of the past. What could you have built with those 2,600 hours? What languages could you have learned? What businesses could you have started? How many sunsets did you miss because you were staring at a mental screen of your own regrets? Holding on is a form of spiritual procrastination. It is a way of saying, I will start living my real life once I have figured out why this happened. But life is not a puzzle to be solved. It is an experience to be had. While you are busy demanding an apology from the past, the present is passing you by like a high-speed train. The ultimate cost of holding on is not just the pain. It is the loss of the life you were supposed to live while you were busy being a victim of the one you had. By now, the ledger is clear. You are paying for your attachments with your health, your intelligence, your relationships, and your time. Why do we keep paying such an exorbitant price? Because the cost of letting go feels higher in the short term. Letting go feels like a form of death. It feels like admitting that the time we spent suffering was for nothing. It feels like letting the bad guy win. But the wake-up call is this: by holding on, you are the only one losing. The person who hurt you isn't feeling your resentment. They are sleeping fine. The past isn't changing because of your rumination. It is set in stone. Your holding on has zero impact on the external world. It only has a devastating impact on your internal one. Today, your task is to sit with the cost. Don't try to fix it yet. Don't try to force yourself to forgive or forget. Just look at the bill. Write down 3 things that holding on has cost you in the last year. Be specific. Is it the 10 pounds of stress weight? The distance between you and your child? The creative project you were too exhausted to start? Look at those costs and ask yourself, am I willing to pay this for another year? Another decade? When the pain of staying the same finally becomes greater than the fear of letting go, the path forward becomes clear. You have paid enough. It is time to settle the account and walk out of the graveyard.